Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and we're going to have some fun die cutting. I, for the first time, am going to really try and use double-sided adhesive sheet. Yes, I've tried it before, but I don't think I gave it a fair chance, so I'm going to in this one. You can see I'm using two dies from Scrappy Tails Crafts. This one is called USA Outline Map. Now, this is from a recent collection, and there is a stamp set that is very similar, but please know that this die does not match up to the stamp set. All right, so it's not going to outline that stamp. And then I'm using the stacked suitcases. And I definitely the sentiment. So we're going to create our own journey adventure. We got all kinds of techniques going on in this video today. We are going to be using some of our sprays. I do like the distress sprays. You can use any sprays that you have in your stash. I'm going to be combining the oxide and the stain sprays. So really it's like the oxides and the distress inks. So, but in spray form. For one of the panels, this panel is going to be used for the die cut inlays that we're going to put throughout the states. So, not only are we going to use our sprays, we are also going to be doing die cut inlay technique. I'm starting out with some vintage photo. So the vintage photo and the speckled egg, I'm using an oxide. I'm also going to be using the speckled egg distress ink spray along with scorched timber. So here you can see I've got these two colors mixing. I'm using my heat gun to get this dry. Remember that the distress products are water reactive, except for the paint. When that dries, that's permanent. But these, so as I continue to layer these colors on top, watch what happens when I put this white on there. That is just, I fell in love with that, but I needed to tint it. I just love the way that is just spreading. And then when I add the water on top of it, that blue underneath just came through. So a lot of things, have fun with your sprays and see what they will do, how they will react. If you put plain water on them, the more and more I use the white picket fence stain spray, the more and more I get intrigued by it. And I'm sure there are videos out there, and I'm sure Ranger and Tim Holtz have explained it. But it is just amazing at what it does. So you can see that white just spread all throughout. It mixed in with the speckled egg, and I was able to pull that speckled egg back with it. We're going to have two shades of blue when it comes to our backgrounds. This one here is going to be more muted, more toned down. Of course, we added our splatters with our picket fence and also the scorched timber. I am going to set that aside and let that dry, and we're going to start working on our second panel. This is going to be the mat for all of our die cuts. Again, I'm using, excuse me, I'm using Distress ink, and I'm using Uncharted Mariner, and I am using, no, the oxide inks. I'm using Uncharted Mariner, and I am using Tumbled Glass. A little bit of the white picket fence. Now that that nozzle got clean, it wasn't a full stream, so I got like a little tiny splatter of it. And you can tell I'm drying the panel often. After I get one layer down, I want to dry it, and then I'm going to come in with another layer. What I'm also going to add to this one is the spritz sprays in Uncharted Mariner. I want that sparkle. To me, it's got like a goldish sparkle to it. And I just want that to go throughout this panel as well. We're going to pull, for the splatter, I'm using the paint. So each time I've splattered with the white down on my mat, I'm using the white picket fence paint. Now, it's not going to stay pure white. It is, again, water reactive underneath it. The paint has water in it. It's going to pick up that dye ink. So it does fade back, which I am fine with. I don't mind that. You can use a white gouache. You could use a white watercolor, a white acrylic paint. Again, you know, use what you have in your stash and you will get similar effects. Again, coming in with my heat gun to get this dry. Eventually, I will set that panel aside to let that go. Because I want to work on this one again. It looks bright in the video. I mean, I'm kind of amazed at what I'm looking at here, at how bright it is when I see it. In real view, it's very muted, and that's fine. It's what I wanted, but I don't want it to be that muted. So I added some tumbled glass on top of this. And you can see I still have those splatters from Scorched Timber. I still have that faintness of the vintage photo underneath it. But by adding a lot of these white splatters, while the tumbled glass is still wet and damp, they're going to blend throughout and really just make this a little bit lighter. Keeping the same hue, though, is really what I was looking for. So that's why we kept on going back and forth. And we have a blue that's a little closer to what our background mat is going to be. Once these are fully dry, we are going to come back. So we are back. Yes. I'm going to use my deckled edge trimmer, and I'm just going to eyeball 1/4 of an inch off of each side. I want it to have this weathered look, and I'm going to pull back in the picket fence paint, and I'm going to use a sponge dauber. I want to put white all around the edge of this panel. This is going to be the mat. This is what everything's going to sit on. So what I'm envisioning, or what I saw when it came to this die, the United States dime, I did see a very large card. So our card's going to be 7 by 7 today. The United States die will fit on a 5 by 7, and you'll see what I actually show that because there are pieces that I needed to make sure got on a card. Not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to do something. And I wanted, so looking at the United States map, excuse me, sitting on top of this panel here, I wanted this to look like the ocean, or give a feel for the ocean. And then the outside edge are the waves crashing. So now we have that panel set, and we're going to set that aside to dry. So it's to dry. Words are very difficult for me today. I'm so sorry. Now let's work on our die cuts. I die cut the United States panel out twice with craft cardstock. So my outline is going to be, excuse me, this brown. And no, I am not adding vintage photo to it. Yep. I actually added, remember that, into the panels that are going to inset. I only die cut this twice. So just to give it a little bit more thickness to it, and I only used a 65-pound paper. I didn't want it too thick. For my sentiment, I also die cut that out twice out of black cardstock, and that was 110 pounds. I did want that to be a little bit thicker because we're going to create a banner with our sentiment. So I love the fact that this sentiment is separate words. And you can make multiple phrases out of this. Not many, but you can. You could say has just begun. Your journey. Your journey has begun. So, think about that. You can add other, and then if you've got other word dies and they're smaller, then you can add in between that too. Again, I'm all about mixing and matching and making everything just go together. Now we're going to work on the suitcases. I die cut the base in solid black cardstock, and then I'm using a pale shade of gray. You could see that pale blue in the upper right, but a lot of browns. All of the accents for the luggage are in gold, a gold mirror cardstock. The tops of the suitcases, excuse me, are in a darker brown, but I do have black accents that are going to come in because, again, the sentiment is black. So I always like to make sure that we have the same colors that we're using going throughout our piece. And now we're just layering each of the pieces together. The top is our purse, so of course we have to add our gold accents to those and the handles, and then the corner pieces. And then as we come down the luggage, we'll be adding our handles, our leather straps, and corners to one of them as well. Sabrina does make her dies very easy to follow and to add colors to. I mean, she thinks of every last detail, which is awesome. Absolutely awesome. But the way that she also gives you the position and where these pieces go, I like to do all of my die cutting first and actually dry put it together, because some of the pieces should go underneath another one, because then you get this layering effect. So I like to die cut all the pieces, and as I'm die cutting, I'm layering them up, saying, yep, that's the color that I want there. That's the color that I want there. And it's great because her dies are great scrap busters, because you can use your scraps for all of these pieces, because that's how small detail she gets into, which is awesome. So if you are that person that loves to keep every single piece of scrap, okay, this technique is definitely for you, because you'll use them up with the die cutting. But I do, when it comes to her dies, I do a dry run to say, okay, this color here, this color here. Okay, oh, this piece needs to go down below before I put this piece in. So now that we have our die cutting done, I'm going to set those pieces up above me. I grabbed a sheet. I have the Altenew double-sided adhesive sheets. And you can see I used it before, but okay, I did not give it its fair shake. So this time I am. I thought this was the perfect piece. So see, I still try new things. So I put my piece down. I see a little tiny damp spot on the panel, so I want to make sure that's dry before I run this through my die cutting machine. Now you'll see, this is also not something that you can tape down. You've got oxide paint there, so oxides get that chalky film, which I do like, but tape is not going to stick on it. So what I like to do, as my fingers are flailing around there, I grab a piece of copy paper right from my printer, and when I put it down onto in between my plates, I put the copy paper on top of where the die is. Because you can see there's dye that's going to, or ink that's going to come off, and I don't want that on my plates. So I always do that if I have an ink blended background, whether it's sprays, brush blending, sponge blending, watercolor background, whatever it is, I do always use that piece of copy paper. And then you don't get it all over your plates and have to worry about cleaning them. Once I took it off the plate, you saw I took that piece of silicone, put it on the back, and then flipped it up. So now that piece is sitting there, and all the pieces stayed in the die. Okay. I have no idea if these pieces are going to come out of the die. So this will be fun. Yep, we're going to... I already know, but you're going to see. Excuse me. So any of the outlines that I have I'm going to put them up onto the release paper. And it's in a little bit that I remember, hey, you know what? I'd like to put this down onto a card so that they don't get ruined. All I'm doing is I'm using my pokey tool to pull off the release paper. All of these pieces came out perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. Now, what I did do, though, was when it came to whether it was the large piece of the United States or Alaska or Hawaii, I did pull off the release paper for the adhesive. So I'm kind of like, okay, I need to save these pieces. And right there to the right is a 5x7 card base. Excuse me. I am so sorry. I have this tickle in my throat. You can see as I'm pulling off the release paper, some of the pieces are staying on, but very easy to get off of the panel. I'm removing the release paper if that came with it. And as I get these pieces, I'm putting them in place so that I don't lose them. I'm going to keep this flat. And I'm going to slowly pull back on the entire release paper to the back of the adhesive. And now I'm just going to pull those pieces up and set them in place. So this is our die cut inlay. I don't have to use any glue because I've used the double-sided adhesive sheets. And FYI, I'm really liking it. This saved some time. It doesn't look like it did, but it really did. There are a lot of pieces here. 50 states outline. Lots going on. Eventually, once I get the majority of the states out, I'm going to take the outlines and I'm going to put them on my 5x7 card base. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do because I'll get caught in this rabbit hole. I'm like, okay, well, I'll die cut this again and fill it in. Well, okay, I'm going to be in the same situation. I'm always going to have that outline, and I don't want to waste the outline. It's great. So what I did was I just put these down onto a 5x7 card panel. And at some point, I'll show exactly what I did with that card. I'm using the release paper that I pulled off from the back. And when I poke the states out, I'm putting them down on that, and they come off very easily. So they're not getting stuck to anything. I'm able to just poke them out down onto that piece, and then I'm able to either pick them up if they're large enough with my fingers, or I can use my pickup tool. Excuse me. To set them in place. Some of these pieces get really small. Now, the only ones that I didn't fill in on this piece are the Great Lakes. I did leave those alone and kept them the blue background that we created. So, yes, I have become a fan of the double-sided adhesive sheets. And as I said, these are the Alta News. So once I start using something like this, then that's probably what I'll stick with. I don't know how many times I'll use them, but that by using that product, it did speed this up for me. So yay for trying new things. Awesome. Would there be any difference if you put glue into each of these pieces? Absolutely not. That's exactly what I was going to do. That's what I was set out to do. Something popped into my brain to say, hey, you have these, let's use them. See if you still don't like them. So yeah, that went right through my head. Yep, absolutely. But I encourage you, again, use what you have. These are not, there's only a few that are really small, but it's okay to just use your glue and use your fingers. And it's fine. The die cut cuts beautifully when it comes to the pieces. So very easy to put together. I'm going to take my suitcases and I'm going to add my double-sided foam tape squares. And I'm going to set that down in the corner. Yes, I did set the United States maps on an angle. And now I'm just bringing in a piece of my coffee dyed paper that I use for my journals. And we're going to create our sentiment. And we're going to kind of create a scroll banner. I thought about doubling it, but I didn't want to hide too much of all of the work that we just did. It's one of the reasons why I do like a larger card. You've got more real estate, you can do more with it. But we did a lot of using our ink sprays and creating those backgrounds and all that work doing the die cut inlay and all of the work doing the die cut layering. So lots of techniques going on here. Why cover it with a sentiment? So instead of doubling it, let's put it into somewhat of a line. I won't say straight because it's not. And we're going to rip the paper around it. So now we've got this kind of curve going on. Well, I will pull in the vintage photo and just go along the edges to keep the same feel for the colors that we've used. And then just a light touch of the scorched timber along the edges. And then we're going to roll each side. And we're just going to tack those scrolls down with a little bit of glue right underneath. Keeping that rolled. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. And this sentiment strip will also be propped up on with double-sided foam squares as well. We're going to tuck this across the states and underneath the luggage. Just the handles of the handbag. So here I'm going to come in and I am going to make sure that I have them going all across. When you coffee dye paper, you've affected the fibers. You can still write on it. You can still fold it. You can still emboss it, die cut it, everything. But it does get a little weaker. Just a little bit. So I want to make sure that there's not a chance that this could be ripped. So I want to make sure that it's adhered all throughout. You could have also just glued this directly down. Now, these are not the areas where the capitals are of each of the states. I did not do that. I just wanted to put some gems and pearls on this to like represent, you know, we're going here, we're going here, we're going here. So you could just have fun with that. Just placed a few around in just a couple or just a few of the states. And again, using all types of gems and pearls, plain and iridescent. But I really like how it turned out. I think it's really cool. It's just different. So I hope I gave you some ideas for what you got going on in your stash, how you can play with your inks and play with your die cuts. Try the die cut inlay technique. It's a lot of fun. It does speed up a lot of time to use it. We've used the double-sided adhesive sheets, but it's not necessary. Use what you got and use that glue. Thank you so much for stopping by. The main products that I used will be listed down below if you wanted to check them out. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those down below as well. Enjoy what you're creating. Know that it's art and just have fun with the process. Try new things. You never know. You may like it. You may not. But just give them a try. And always remember what's most important, guys. Always be creative every day in everything that you do. I will talk to you in the next one. And until then, stay safe and take care.